It's not going there. Yeah. Oh, the right one.
Press it again.
Okay.
You know what? Point it at the sound.
At the thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yay!
Go, go, go.
Anybody over the age of 40? Okay. This is my story. When I was a little kid, my mother took us to what I now know as the Dallas Museum of Art. I hated what I now know as Duchamp's New Descending Staircase. I hated, I remember, what I now know as Brancusi's Bird in Flight. I was a kid, I was literal. Things should look like things. A nude should look like a nude. It doesn't look like a bird. I didn't understand, and it's possible that I was a difficult child. But the whole atmosphere there seemed ponderous, hands off. And my interests lay in the natural world. When we walked to a large room, and on the floor was that arching metal rod, and from the top of that rod, high above my head, were these little bits of geometry in bright colors, and I had no idea what I was expected to think about it. But a few of the bright bits were there, and I reached out and I touched one, and it moved. And then the next one, too, it moved. And then in a minute, all of them were dancing across from each other, and they all influenced each other, and my mother turned around and saw it and just about dropped dead. But what happened then set the course for everything up to today. I watched those stupid little pieces of color go back and forth, and they had no purpose at all. And I understood three things: that an adult had made that thing, that other adults valued it extremely highly, and that if it was there in that place, then it was taken dead seriously, although it was nothing except pure happiness. And that day, Alexander Calder gave me permission. He had made stupid, happy, marvelous things, and he was revered, and I wanted to be counted among the old dead people who were revered at the DMA. And I wanted to be old and dead and revered. So I learned classical, but I still love disaster and chaos. I am disaster and chaos. I noticed the beauty and hilarity of found objects, the energy. That one was on a dog walk I found, and a little kid at an open studio liked it, and his father gave me $20 for it, and I teared up because I loved it, and there you go, it's gone. This does go fast. Okay, for the past year, I've been painting, and I've fallen in love with drips. These are images that are pure nature in spontaneous gesture. Drips are literally visual representation of Newtonian physics in action. The images you get depend on the viscosity of the medium that you mix. It depends on what the wind is doing that day, because I learned you do drip those things outside. They depend upon the inclined plane. That is the angle you hold the canvas while the media runs. And that's the chaos that I crave. Although at some point you realize that chaos does not actually exist in nature. Things seem random, but they actually follow strict rules that we as humans may or may not understand. And the trick has been to respond to the pure energy of these things, and then have a conversation with nature as to what to do with it next. And gestures work in a similar way. This is some texture I've been working with in a sculptural way that I've been loving. Human-directed media still produces an image that you can work with in a partnership with the artwork instead of as an absolute commander, and I like that. My job as the artist is to recognize a coherent pattern as it happens, and then to stare at it for 2 weeks and learn what the narrative is suggesting to me, and then add color as intuition dictates, going back to the classes that I studied in the college, color theory and composition, or sometimes I leave it as is, because my paintings and sculpture both work with found energy in this way, and I can think about how to provide a picture of the way I see the universe is working. I think about it as representational art of a non-physical reality, a concept. Chaos is part of the process, and it often ruins anything that I'm wearing. It often involves Band-Aids, and that's the distraction part that I actually kind of like. Because if you're old enough to remember antiseptic and iodine, you know that if it hurts, you've actually accomplished something, and that feeling is part of the art. Alexander Calder that day gave me my artistic and philosophical path. Color theory composition can live within chaos and destruction. Permission means that it's okay to play, it's okay to try stupid things. And if the piece fails, it fails spectacularly. But when it works, and it often does, it turns into something that takes me into new patterns, new media, and nothing replaces academic study, but building on top of that with experimentation is totally satisfying. I've learned to take myself seriously while playing and to never be content. Not everything I do is light, not everything is happy, but it all does start from what would happen if. And I follow the play of that medium, sometimes into light and sometimes into places that should be left quiet. Sometimes play pulls up a narrative that belongs to an undercurrent of universal understanding. Will the DMA see my things the same way? Of course, today I love Brancusi, I enjoy Duchamp. I understand that he was also after a version of chaos that broke new ground at the time, and thanks to those people, I have a chance of being old and dead and loved.